Hello everyone, welcome to the Comic Quest Prologue. I'm your host, Joey The JAG, and today I'm going to be doing another webtoon comic review. This time, it's going to be for this webtoon comic. Love Advice from the Great Duke of Hell. So, leave a like, subscribe, share the video for those that love comics. As some of you know, I am not a professional artist. I didn't go to art school. I don't have an art degree. I don't have a teacher, a coach teaching me how to do art. And I have a hard time going on YouTube and doing tutorials because it's very hard for me to comprehend because there's various other teachings and techniques of how to do art. So I decided to do an art journey documenting my artistic pursuits, going from amateur artist to eventually a professional artist. So I am trying to get better. So that is why I am doing this. So heading into the Webtoon 2025 contests, Webcomics Legends, I'm prepping myself up by reading these comics that have been in contests and are part of the fact that were referenced when I read the fact. In order for me to understand webtoons a lot better and to pursue it by entering the contest in a more comfortable manner, knowing the webtoon formula. And in that way, any of you out there trying to get into the webtoon contest, well, hopefully this helps you as well. So let's get into the webtoon comic review. This webtoon comic is called Love Advice from the Great Duke of Hell, created by Unfins. It has 132.9 million views, 1.4 million subscribers, 9.84 star ratings. It's got 115 super likes, and the genre in which this webtoon comic is in is comedy, but it also falls in supernatural. Supernatural comedy romance. So the story kicks off with Paul, an average guy with a crush on a barista at his local coffee shop. His obsession with winning her heart leads him to summon Astaroth, a demon who offers advice on how to succeed in his romantic pursuits. Astaroth's arrival is both humorous and a little ominous, setting up an unlikely partnership. While Paul is initially unsure of what he's gotten himself into, Astaroth's advice, though strange, starts to seem like the perfect solution. This part of the story establishes the key dynamic between Paul's earnest, if awkward, attempts at romance and Astaroth's otherworldly, often comedic guidance. Paul's accidental summoning of Astaroth is a pivotal moment that introduces readers to the supernatural element of the story. It's not a typical demon summon, and this sets the tone for the webcomic's lighthearted take on the genre. Astaroth, unlike traditional demonic figures, is portrayed with a mix of sardonic humor and almost paternal attitude, offering advice in a way that feels both daunting and strangely comforting. As Paul navigates this new relationship with Astaroth, the story starts to explore the comedic potential of this supernatural mentorship. As Paul starts implementing Astaroth's advice, it's clear that things don't always go according to plan. Astaroth's counsel, though well-meaning, often leads to awkward or hilarious situations. This part highlights the contrast between Paul's genuine attempt to win the barista's heart and Astaroth's unconventional methods. The humor comes from Paul's internal struggle between following Astaroth's sometimes questionable advice and his own sense of morality. This section shows the charm of the webcomic. While it's a romance story, it's also a comedic of errors, with Paul learning more about himself along the way. As the story progresses, Paul faces deeper conflicts, both romantic and personal. The guidance Astaroth offers begins to challenge Paul's own ideals, leading to moments of self-doubt and frustration. He starts questioning if he's truly following his own heart or just relying on Astaroth's manipulations. The tension here is not only in Paul's relationship with the barista, but also in his growing realization that relying on a demon for advice may not be the best approach. This section reveals some of the emotional stakes, showing Paul's evolution as he begins to see the consequences of his actions both for himself and for the barista. By the end of the webtoon, Paul undergoes significant growth. His relationship with Astaroth shifts from a simple transactional dynamic to something more complex, with Paul learning to balance the supernatural influence with his own instincts. This section brings the story full circle, showing how Paul matures through his experiences, including his romantic pursuits. Whether or not he wins the heart of the barista, the story concludes on a note of self-discovery. Astaroth, despite being a demon, becomes a key figure in Paul's journey, and the conclusion reinforces the theme of learning from mistakes and growing from challenges. Love Advice from the Great Duke of Hell is a captivating webtoon that combines elements of romance, supernatural fantasy, and humor in a unique way. At its core, the story revolves around a human man who unexpectedly becomes entangled with a demon, the Great Duke of Hell. While the plot may initially seem like a quirky romantic comedy, it gradually transforms into a more intricate exploration of self-discovery, relationships, and the complexities of navigating life with supernatural influences. The story structure is engaging, moving smoothly between episodic moments where the protagonist faces challenges based on the Duke's advice, and larger character arcs that explore emotional growth and deeper themes. This balance ensures that the plot never feels too predictable, as it offers both lighthearted humor and moments of genuine emotional reflection. The gradual unveiling of character backstories, particularly that of the Duke, adds an extra layer of intrigue that keeps readers invested in both the character development and overarching narrative. The pacing, as mentioned in the earlier review, shifts between fast-paced humor and slower, more reflective moments. This dynamic storytelling approach prevents the comic from becoming stagnant and provides a satisfying experience for readers who enjoy both quick entertainment and thoughtful character exploration. One of the strongest aspects of Love Advice from the Great Duke of Hell is its focus on character development, especially that of the protagonist and the Duke. Their evolving relationship is central to the story, and the way it grows, shifting from an initially transactional dynamic to something deeper and more meaningful. It adds more emotional depth to the narrative. The protagonist's journey is one of self-discovery, initially seeking external validation through the Duke's advice. He gradually learns to trust his own instincts and makes decisions for himself. His growth is portrayed in a way that feels natural, with each challenge he faces and each piece of advice he receives contributing to his development. What makes his character stand out is his relatability. He's not perfect, and he doesn't always have all the answers, but his journey of personal growth is compelling. The Duke's character arc is equally rich. Though he begins as an enigmatic and sometimes playful figure, layers of his personality are slowly revealed over time. His seemingly casual approach to giving advice masks a deeper curiosity about human emotions, which makes him a complex character. His growth investment in the protagonist's well-being and his own development adds intrigue to the story, making him more than just a humorous sidekick or a distant supernatural being. The evolving dynamic between these two characters is where the comic truly shines. There are moments of tension, warmth, humor, and even vulnerability between them. The relationship goes beyond the typical teacher-student or mentor-mentee trope, exploring themes of mutual respect, trust, and the challenges of emotional connection across different worlds, human and supernatural. The important themes and messages of this story is self-discovery and empowerment. One of the most compelling themes in the comic is the protagonist's journey towards self-discovery and improvement, or even empowerment. Although he initially seeks external guidance from the Duke, he ultimately learns that the answers to his problems lie within himself. This evolution, where he transitions from relying on the Duke's advice to trusting his own judgment, resonates with readers who can relate to the struggle of finding one's voice in the face of external pressures. The message here is clear: true growth comes from within. And while advice can be helpful, it's up to the individual to make choices and learn from their experiences. The nature of relationships, in this case of the comic, explores the complexities of relationships from various angles, particularly the differences between human and supernatural beings. The relationship between the protagonist and the Duke evolves from a professional exchange into something more personal and emotional. This gradual deepening of their bond highlights how trust and understanding can develop even between individuals from vastly different worlds. The story also touches on other relationships, such as those friends, family, and romantic interests, that of the coffee shop barista, who he really loves and wants to impress. But a lot of things don't end up the right way because he also has rivalries and other individuals who also like the girl, who has his own agenda as well. And so the understanding of how all these things can become something that is important is really interesting, because not only does he have a rival, our main character, the Duke, also has a rival as well, in another demon that I won't want to mention right now, but it will spoil it. But they are constantly at odds with other individuals trying to thwart their own plans in many ways. And the Duke's advice to his own personal life experiences is very intriguing, because the way he goes about it is he uses the Duke's advice, but in order to do it in his own way, he does it in the way that he knows how to do that advice, his own advice. So in a way, he's doing his own advice, even though it's an advice from the Duke. And the thing about all that is that the power and pitfalls of advice is something that is both good and bad. Another significant theme is the role of advice in shaping one's decisions. The Duke, as a demon who offers guidance, introduces the idea that advice, whether from a trusted mentor or a supernatural entity, can both empower and mislead. The comic suggests that while seeking guidance can be helpful, ultimately, individuals must learn to weigh advice against their own value and experiences. This theme is particularly resonant in the way the protagonist learns to balance external advice with his own growing confidence and intuition. And the identity and belonging, that's another thing, because he is trying to understand his own self-observant world that he lives in, and he's trying to go about his relationships, not just with the girl that he likes, but with his family and friends as well. And a lot of that, the identity and belonging, the comic, really touches on the theme of identity, especially as it relates to the Duke. Though he is a powerful demon, his interactions with the protagonist reveal his own struggles with identity and belonging. The gradual unveiling of his backstory provides deeper insight into his motivations and the reason behind his unusual attachment to the human world. This theme of reconciling with one's true self with external expectation adds layers to the Duke's character and creates an interesting contrast to the protagonist's journey. Overall, the themes in Love Advice from the Great Duke of Hell are nuanced and thought-provoking. Offering more than just surface-level humor and romance, they invite readers to reflect on their own experiences with advice, relationships, and personal growth. But overall, the enjoyment of this story is that the Love Advice from the Great Duke of Hell comic book webtoon offers a rich and engaging experience for readers, blending humor, supernatural intrigue, and heartfelt moments with ease. Whether you're drawn to the comic for its quirky premise, its supernatural elements, or its character-driven narrative, it delivers a satisfying experience that evolves over time. One of the most enjoyable aspects of the comic is its ability to balance humor and emotional depth. The banter between the protagonist and the Duke is consistently entertaining, filled with witty exchanges and amusing situations that keep the tone lighthearted. However, as the story progresses, it transitions into a more profound exploration of the character's growth, making the humor feel earned and layered. This progression keeps the series fresh as the stakes rise alongside the personal development of the characters. The supernatural elements, while central to the plot, never overwhelm the more relatable aspects of the story. The Duke, with all his demon like qualities, never feels out of place in the protagonist's world. And the blend of the mundane and the magical creates an intriguing dynamic that hooks the readers. The comic also excels in creating a world where the boundaries between human and supernatural are fluid, which adds richness to the narrative and allows for creative, unexpected twists. In terms of pacing, the webtoon does an excellent job of keeping the reader engaged. The episodic structure allows for lighter, fun moments, while the larger arcs provide depth and emotional weight. The balance between humor, action, and emotional beats ensures that the story never feels stagnant or rushed. By the time you reach the later chapters, the connection between the protagonist and the Duke feels earned, and the emotional stakes feel real. And so, in conclusion to that, Love Advice from the Great Duke of Hell is a webtoon that offers both entertainment and insight, making it a standout in the genre. With its engaging characters, well-developed themes, and captivating story progression, it's a comic that rewards both casual readers and those looking for deeper meaning. Whether you're in it for the humor, the romance, or the supernatural twists, it provides a memorable and enjoyable experience that stays with you long after the last page. And so, my final thoughts on the webtoon comic. And so, I am going to give my rating star on this webtoon comic. And my star is going to be a 4-star rating on this comic. Now, the reason why I'm giving it a 4-star out of 5, because that's my ranking. It's once you get, if you get 5 stars, it's one of the best. But the reason why, maybe it's because of the holidays. Maybe I read this over like the Christmas holidays, and I enjoyed it, and I was with family, so I enjoyed that. And during my read of this, I felt it was good. It was a nice, interesting read. I really like the main character, Paul. It's interesting character. He's a down-to-earth person that's relatable to me or you. And I like that relatable type of person. And he likes this girl at a coffee shop, and he doesn't know how to communicate with her. He doesn't know how to. He fumbles, he falls, he trips. And so he summons a demon. He summons a demon, and the demon is summoned, and the demon gives him advice in order to approach this girl. And the interesting thing about the story that I really, really like is that every single time this demon gives him advice to approach the girl, something crazy happens that he has to overcome. Another obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. And I like those type of stories because although it's not real because it's fantastical, it's still in line with the real because supernatural is a superstition type of story where some things can be real and some things might not be real. But in this case, the superstitions of the advice that the demon gives Paul is really funny. Like, the demon really tries to help him out. And the demon looks like a demon. I love the way that the demon looks in the story. And the way Paul is trying to interact with the barista is really entertaining because it's a challenge to him because he likes this girl. But it's not just him trying to get the girl, it's him trying to get advice in his personal life. And everything, I'm talking about everything from getting a job to trying to get fine with his family and his friends. He's got some rivals that like the girl too. He's got a couple of friends. He's got a best friend that's sort of like a comedic relief, and his friend starts like questioning the way he does his things. So it gets really, really icy when it comes to like him as a character. And the reason why I'm putting it in 4-star out of 5 is because of the every single episode, the demon gives Paul advice. And that episode, for him to just go over that advice, to overcome that advice, it backfires on Paul, and Paul has to overcome those things, and it becomes an arc. there's like a lot of arcs in this story, and each arc has to deal with one of his family members or one of his friends, and him trying to overcome certain personal things in his life, like how to give a present to someone, how to order food or get a coffee for someone. Those little things that people don't really think about is very relatable to a lot of people that have to go through that. And it goes through all types of personal life issues, not just from him, but from others. Because when the demon gives him advice, he gives advice to other people as well. And the advice he gives to his friends and families, they kind of take that advice and it backfires on them. And then they have to deal with a lot more consequences. And then he figures out, and then he has to help them out with those consequences of those advice that is given. So it gets to a certain point in the story where he starts to take his own advice and he stops taking the advice of the Duke, the Great Duke of Hell. And this is where tension starts kind of going a little bit weird, because the Duke starts kind of getting a little bit jealous and starts sabotaging his plans in order for him to keep coming to him for more advice. So it's a really interesting story, because the demon isn't out to destroy him or anything. He is like entertained by Paul's ability to fall on his face and get back up. And that's something that's really important as humans to him. To him, the demon, Paul is basically his favorite TV or movie, or TV show or movie ever, right? And the way the demon toys with Paul is like a cat playing with the toy, or trying to play inside a shoebox or with a plastic, I don't know, bag or something, or, you know, they see it and they play with it. That's the type of personality the demon has with Paul. And he's a menacing demon. He's menacing, but he has like a childish personality of playfulness that's really entertaining and funny. And the way he goes about things is really intriguing. And also, I really, really like how the stakes build up, because eventually the demons, other demons, start realizing that he's helping a human, and these demons start trying to target the human, and he starts protecting the human, and it becomes like a battle, and it's really, really engaging. It's really fun. It's not a shonen, but it gets to a point where you can tell he really does care about this human, because he's defending him against these other demons, and it's really cool. It's really entertaining. So I'm giving it a 4-star out of 5 star rating for this webtoon comic. Check it out. This is like the webtoon comic that I like the most out of all the comics that I've read. And I kept all of the comics that I read open-minded. Now, I would tell you this. Every single webtoon comic that I read out of curiosity. I didn't read these webtoon comics because I was into that type of comics. I read the webtoon comics to learn how webtoon comics are made, understand the formula, and understand how things are done. So when I enter the webtoon contest in 2025, I can understand how they do it and how to do it myself. But the interesting thing about why I read this, and so that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this in the first place. These aren't my favorite genres. Not at all. Like all of these genres that I read, you know, stuff like that. My final review is coming up soon. But this is my last of 2024. That's what I meant. This is my last review of 2024. And I still have one more webtoon comic to read, and that is Hooky. And when I get to that, I'll let you know. But anyways, that's pretty much it for this webtoon comic. And that's it. I'll see you all later. I have another video of my my final video on 2024 and what my resolutions will be in the new year. So hopefully you'll check that video out. I'll see you all next time. Thank you very much. Take care, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.